Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Bayonetta 2 Infinite Climax difficulty video walkthrough. This is chapter 7, it's entitled The Ark, and we're thrown directly into another boss fight, this time against a huge cybernetic manta ray thing. And you have to kill the eyes on both of his wing things, his fins, and then the boss is effectively over. So I find being close to this helps the most. It enables you to do combos, dodge his attacks, get the odd punish attack if you stun him. The thing to bear in mind is he's going to do the crazy push you away red attack, which the timing on dodging it is much later than you'd think, so a lot of the times you're going to find yourself dodging early and having to compensate. Once you learn that, you should be okay. The most dangerous moves he does are the loose tentacles that have lasers on them, because the lasers are brutal. Whenever he glows red like that, it means he's going to close and you need to get away from it. If you dodge backwards, hold the gun to shoot him, and then get back in there, you'll be able to counterattack. Those lasers just then, those loose lasers at a distance are so fast and damaging, they're kind of crazy. You're probably going to see me get hit by it. That's the move that's kind of misleading to dodge, but once you get it, you should be okay. Whenever you want to cover distance here, you can turn into the serpent because we are underwater, and it will help you cover distance, but sometimes it's possibly worthwhile not being in that form. It's entirely preferential, but here's the punish attack again, where we get to punch the eye. And I think that's that over, so it does a kind of crazy spin, so we can fight its other side. Oh no, it's going to fire some mouth missiles, which makes perfect sense, because all infernal, crazy manta rays can fire missiles from the mouth. And I believe this creature's called Insidious, so I suppose he's living up to his name. He is quite insidious in his ways in trying to kill us, but there's the dodge again. Which time he is really dangerous. That's it, that was it, and it hit me good. This right now is the hardest thing he does to dodge for me personally, because the first laser seems to be super quick, and sometimes you're too busy watching the red to notice the lasers hit you, and it's tricky. But as a whole, I think this boss is pretty simple. I think it's a good setup. If you heard a funny crack then, that was just my elbow. Probably sounds horrific on a microphone. I do apologise. But the problems I always have here is because I'm kind of stubborn and I don't really do dodge offset too much, my combos get interrupted a lot. And you might wonder why I don't do dodge offset so much. Because my fingers aren't used to holding buttons the way you have to do it, it strains my index finger, and I don't know why. You know, I'm someone who's played games now for over 20 years, and I've done it in some stints that a lot of people would look at as being quite antisocial and inhuman, and I've never had issues with my hands at all. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, or because I'm getting arthritis, or whatever it is, but for some reason, whenever I do dodge offset a lot, I find it really intensive on in the first knuckle on my index finger near my nail. Right there it starts to get a little bit niggly and tender. And of course that's a bad sign, isn't it? Whenever your body's saying something's happening, you want to stop whatever you're doing that's making it happen. And it just happens to be that technique. And I don't know why, because I don't get it when I play first-person shooters. My left hand's perfectly fine, and that does probably more. Like, I have no idea what it is, but it's kind of weird, and because I don't want any of those afflictions, like carpal tunnel and so on, I generally just stop playing, and I go and watch some films, or go somewhere else, or do something else, and then I rest it for a little bit. When it starts feeling better, I'll go back and do some recording and things, but that's one of the main reasons why you don't see me doing a lot of the continued combos after evades. Although, I will not deny it's the most effective way to play. But the final phase of this fight, the eye gets those crazy mouth attacks, and because this is a higher difficulty, those mouth attacks are faster, and it's very difficult to adjust to the timing on the fly with just how much quicker they are. So you're probably going to take a few cheap hits. And I say cheap not to say the game is cheap. Just on our end, we were quite cheap there. We took them with our face, we didn't dodge them very well, but we were still able to come out on top. And hopefully that will be the philosophy for this guide. It's going to help people who aren't quite, up to the level of not being able to get touched and doing everything perfectly. because if you're that good, you're watching this for other reasons. You're not watching this for advice, because you're already pretty damn good at the game. But we're now inside Insidious. We get to cut up his belly and have those crazy orbs that fall out of him. For some reason the game is giving us tons of magic butterflies when we need life laurels. The game does that a lot. It's one of those weird things that almost every action game does. You have full magic, you need life, and it gives you magic. It's bizarre. But right here we have, I think it's Heinous and Hatred. Hatred is the guy with the double scythe who's bigger. Heinous is the smaller ones who have the gun, who you just saw fire at me then. These are infernal demons. Because we're going to be going into hell, we're not going to be fighting angels there, we're going to be fighting these dudes, and these are some of the most interesting characters in the game, because they do this thing where they attack so much faster than the angels. You've spent the first half of the game getting acclimatized to attacks that aren't that fast, and then occasionally super fast ones. These dudes, almost every attack is fast, it's constant and it combos, so you have to be aware that coming out of Witch Time, you might be about to get hit by something big, so always be on guard for immediate dodging. And the creature that just turned up then, he's called Resentment, and funny story, when he turned up here, he did the attack that turns you into a child, and then he ate me, because he moves considerably faster than he did on the other difficulties. If you get turned into a kid against those on this difficulty, you're dead, because they get to you too quick, and you don't move very fast as Little Cereza. They're a crazy enemy, because they've got mad range with a whip-like attack, and then they've got this ability to one-shot you, which can be avoided. You can witch time through it, but sometimes you just, you didn't realise that's what they were doing, and they catch you with it. Same with these things, the flying infernal demons. These guys are called Furies, and on this difficulty, I'm not too sure if it was like it on the earlier ones, they don't flash when they attack. So watch them. They do a double claw swipe, and because he didn't flash, I take it on the chin, like an idiot. And it's that moment of, wow, I did not realise that they did that. And of course there are certain enemies that do it all the time, but I just assumed they would flash, because all the other demons were flashing red, and these guys just came along and he punched me in the face. But I do like those enemies because they've got very low life compared to a lot of the other ones, so they feel really responsive and really fun to fight. And they also have this projectile that moves quite slow. It's a little bit like the trumpet blast off of the original, only if it hits you, it puts you in witch time, but it's witch time against you, so it slows you down. It's really interesting. And of course you can knock it back, and you can also use it to get witch time yourself. I think they're a really interesting and fun enemy. They're kind of the demon equivalent of the Deers and Decorations. But once you come over here, it's a checkpoint, and it's the Lumen Sage again. This guy's fucking hard. I'm not even going to lie, but I've got a fantastic cheesy strategy for him, which is going to help players who aren't too good at the game, or who don't have the time to invest to learn how to combo him and juggle him and things, which, I've tried a while and I still can't do. So this is the easiest way of beating him. You dodge his attack, you then whip him, and that's all you do. You might wonder, well, why don't you try and do attacks before it and then lead into the whip, or attacks after it once you've whipped him? On this difficulty, there is no guarantee you're going to hit him. That's just the simple answer to it. There is no guarantee he's not going to parry you, and he's not going to hit you first. He recovers out of almost everything. Certain things hit him, certain things don't. Every so often you'll be able to get him in a bit of a stun, and then he'll recover. And I found oftentimes I would miss the opportunity to do the damage, which is the whip kick, because look at the damage, it does really good damage, and it's a guaranteed hit because he can't block it. But when I comboed into it, every 1 in 5 attempts I would land the kick that does the big damage. If I comboed after it, he'd do a move that went through it and hit me, and I ended up losing life, I ended up getting beaten up. I spent about an hour fighting this guy to try juggling him, to try parrying him with the Moon of Mahakala, to try just anything, Tetsuzankoing him, doing all kinds of different things. Also, I don't use Infinite Climax. I want to fight this guy, and I want to learn to fight him, and unfortunately, at the time I was just like, there's nothing I can do here that's going to be guaranteed for people to repeat what they see to get past this boss. And then I found this, which, don't get me wrong, it's not very fun to watch, it's not very stylish, but it works every single time. And this strategy can be replicated by anyone, because it will do two things. It will give you guaranteed damage on a boss who's hard to damage, and it'll teach you how to avoid him and learn his patterns, because you have to dodge him to land it. So it's this reward and risk factor that's going to make you a better player for the rest of the game, but it's also not too execution intensive to get an attack off, because all you have to do is hold kick. And then after this, you get this little vignette, this little cutscene, and then we get on to the next sequence. So he summons Prudence, Bayonetta summons the Hydra, and then we get to this part. So that is a checkpoint. I'm almost certain I had a time where that wasn't a checkpoint, and then when I died I had to do the first section again. I could be wrong, but I just remember being frustrated on this fight, and it might have been because I couldn't hit him, but you saw just then it saved, so this is definitely a checkpoint, which is good because it means that there's a little bit of respite between both sequences. And here is the second phase. So in the second phase, he behaves almost identically. The difference here is he can now summon a different one of the virtues. And also he does this. Whenever you see him separate his lance, he's going to run at you for a counter. The timing on countering his counter is the loosest thing I've ever seen. Like, can anybody remember Bayonetta 1 against Jean? When you had to counter her, and it was like the fastest quick time event on the planet outside of Korea? Where's that gone? Like, anybody who didn't like Bayonetta's QuickTime events, don't worry folks, you're not finding them here. You literally have an eternity to press that button. He doesn't even have to be close to you. As soon as he starts it and it's on the screen, if you press it, you're already in the animation, you've already won. It's bizarre. But a good thing, I think, because, you know, Jean could kick your ass at times because you weren't a machine at pressing buttons, which is kind of annoying. But in this phase, you'll notice I'm trying to do some combos to mix it up. This is an example of trying to combo before and after the throw, just to show you the times where he counters it and he gets out of it, just to give you some context. And of course, if you're playing and you have no interest in you know, finding strategies, just whip him. It's consistent, it's damaging, it's easy to do, and that's exactly what a walkthrough should be for most players, I believe. Like, the pure platinuming stuff and the stylish stuff, that comes later once I know what I'm doing, because as it stands, I honestly don't understand how I would platinum this guy, because the combo, the only way I could keep a combo against him when I was trying to find some strategies to record this was by dodge offsetting with pistols on my hands and feet, because it's a style I'm really comfortable with, and every one of those held attacks was doing damage to him that he wasn't blocking. So it's tricky stuff, but the game is still young. There's lots to learn, and it's going to be really fun discovering it. But that's the end of the video, folks. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's helping, and you take care now.